a lot of agendas out right now that would suppress young men. And the reality is, without strong masculine men, the world doesn't work. If we really care about women, we'll build more good men.
How do you find that high-valued woman?
I want a woman that's going to be in the female role. Secret, all women want this. There's this human trafficking thing that in which they have no evidence for, but it's something that they're going to have to go through. And I always say that no man does anything great without walking through fire.
Would you say you're a millionaire or a multimillionaire?
Oh, I'm definitely a multimillionaire.
Multimillionaire?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't do it all by yourself, and you shouldn't.
If you could do it all over again, how would you escape the matrix as soon as possible?
You got to get it in order, and you got to get it in order fast. If you're old enough to hear a message, you're old enough to take action on it and understand that everything that happens in your life is in your own hands, then there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Welcome to Ponder with Ponder. I'm your host, Ryan, and today with me, I have JWaller. Justin, do you mind introducing yourself for us?
Yeah, man. My name's JWaller, and that's it.
Can you tell me a little bit about...
Say, man.
No, you're good. Do you want to tell me a little bit about, like, how you came up on social media and, like, what your mission is here?
Yeah, man. So about 2 years ago, I decided to start a YouTube channel, and it quickly was apparent to me that young men could use a little bit of guidance in regards to getting things in order for them to have a good life. I always say that I wanted to see young men have choice. And in order to get to choice, I think it makes a lot of sense to first understand how the world actually works. Not what they've been told, not what they've been taught, but the actual brutal truths of the world and the realities and how things actually operate. And if you can get to there and then build competencies that allow you to create freedom in your life, then you have choice. And I have to tell you, it's been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. You know, when I started my career doing construction and even now real estate, nobody really thanks me or I've not been able to have people feel like they've had their lives changed over me hitting a construction schedule or giving them somewhere to live. However, in this space, I've found that I've been able to really help people navigate their life, create new consciousnesses to achieve goals that they didn't previously see, and it's been really good for me, and I've quite enjoyed it. And I don't think I see any signs of me stopping in any time near in the future, man. It's been really good.
Yeah, it sounds like you're teaching everybody really how to escape the system or the matrix, right?
Yeah, man. That and just the wiring that society puts on you. And there's a lot of agendas out right now, and there's a lot of things that would suppress young men and mostly make them feel guilty or make them feel like if they want to be masculine, that's not okay, and then they should feel bad about that and shame them about that. And the reality is that without strong masculine men, the world doesn't work. And that's not only for men, man, that's for women. I don't just care about men. I care about women as well. And if we really care about women, we'll build more good men. Because without good men in the world, the women won't want to commit to a man and create a relationship. She'll just stay single. And by and largely, I've found that when women stay single, that they're not quite as happy. You can't tell me that a woman that has a bunch of cats and drinks box wine every night and watches Sex and the City is as happy as a woman that's married to a strong masculine man who's leading a household. It's not just my love of men that I do this work. It's really because I love people. And if we want to see people succeed, men need women and women need men. And if we build good men and we give men the right direction so they can be the right kind of guy, then they'll in turn be able to find a woman that they can have a relationship with, a healthy one, and they can build families and they can do the things that make society run. Because if men and women are divided, then we're in trouble, particularly in America.
Right.
So, and in all the Western countries, man. So traditional values and the family and all those other things, I think are something that's very important. Regardless of how you structure the relationship, men and women need each other. And so I feel like the more men we help, the better we're doing for society as a whole and for women.
At what age should a man start building his life as a quote unquote a valuable man?
Any young man that's old enough to watch a podcast can start.
Okay.
Because fitness is the most important thing to start on, in my opinion. If a young man is anywhere near puberty, he should be beginning to lift weights and understand how nutrition works and understand how his body works and understand how to train himself to be capable physically. the reason I always put fitness in front of everything else is because if you're fit, it's something that will be with you everywhere you go. It's something that shows. You could be the richest guy in a room and nobody would know. But if you're in shape, everybody will have a different level of respect for you, and you'll have a different level of respect for yourself because it's something you get to walk around with. It's one of very few things that do that. In addition to that, it keeps a sharp mind. And if you have a sharp mind, you can do better in business. So, and that's outside just the health and the health benefits as well.
Right.
So I think any young man that's old enough to watch a podcast should start working on his fitness. And then obviously understanding female nature and financial education. I think it's a great starting place for any young man that's old enough to watch any kind of podcast relating to self-help.
Okay. So basically, any young man that's probably 12, 13, 14, they're probably watching a podcast out there.
Yeah,
So first thing they should do is get a gym membership.
Yeah, or start doing push-ups.
Okay.
You know, even like fitness is free, man. You can do push-ups anywhere you are. When I was a little boy, I was a little bit chubby. So I'd wear shirts to pool parties.
Okay.
I had like a little fat right here where my arm met my chest.
Yeah.
And I started doing push-ups, man. I'd just do rep to fail 4 or 5 times a day until I'd get up to 200 push-ups a day, man. And so even if you can't afford a gym membership, you can do push-ups and pull-ups. They're free. I would do tricep extensions on a countertop and to fail.
Yeah.
And so you just want to start to build that neural pathway of working on your body all the time.
Yeah.
And after you work out, you'll find that you'll have a new, different kind of calmness, a kind of energy for learning. So I always like to exercise before I do anything in my day, because anything I do after exercising, I'm going to be more graceful at, I'm going to be calmer, I'm going to have more patience, and I'm going to have more capacity to learn.
Okay.
So I always tell young men that ask me, what should I do? The first thing you should do is get sober as possible and get in shape. It's one of the best things you'll ever do for yourself. And it's in 4D.
Yeah.
You know, it's in so many categories of your life.
Yeah.
So that is the number one thing I think any young man should do.
Yeah. Speaking of being sober and trying to stay sober as possible, what do you say to guys that maybe they have, some sort of addiction, maybe they have that opioid, weed, maybe they have alcohol addiction? Have you dealt with that in the past? And do you have maybe a solution to people that's addicted?
Yeah, man. So I have had times in my life where I've been drinking too much.
Okay.
1,000%. What I would do is change my atmosphere. I would try to break that neural pathway chain by going somewhere else and just spending time in another place, another atmosphere, so you can just breathe and find other things to do.
Okay.
There's a lot of positivity that can come with being bored.
Right.
And isolating yourself. A lot of people are scared to be bored. Some of the best work I've ever done is when I would go home and there was no one there and I had nothing to do but sit in my own thoughts. And a lot of times that's when everything's quiet enough where you can hear yourself think.
Yeah.
So if you're hanging around people that are smoking a lot, let's say, then you want to get yourself out of that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you would be shocked at what'll happen if it's just not in your face and you don't have access to it,
Makes sense.
So that's definitely something I would do. And you could do the same thing for anything. You could do it for drinking. You could do it for porn. You could do it for alcohol. You could do it for so many different things. But I think changing your atmosphere is something that can help really snap you out of anything that you run into.
Yeah. And speaking of porn, so I got into the meme page industry when I was 14, 15 years old. I started out growing meme pages. Literally would just post funny stuff on the internet and I started getting followers. And then that led to me selling brand deals and whatnot. I actually exited the meme page industry 4 or 5 months ago. I sold Humor Empire. I had one 1.1 million followers. The reason I sold it though is because all of our ad buyers were only fan agencies, right? That's where all the money was coming from. That's where everybody was getting paid out of. And I feel like that's horrible because people that follow meme pages, it's 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, right? It's very young men. And they're all being exposed to literally women that are basically naked on Instagram, social media. How do you kind of go on attack mode with that? Because all these young men are being affected by that. And I feel like that's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that's bad for your brain, right? I mean, studies have shown that pornography, especially excessive and watching and masturbating to it, is bad and it gives you a bad reflection of women. What are your thoughts on that and how do you escape that?
Yeah. I think every man has faced that struggle at one point in their life. The easiest way for me to handle it is just have women that hot at my house. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in regards to a young man, maybe
Maybe I don't think they have access
they
to,
don't, bro.
yeah, and I
I
don't think
get
they
it.
build their value, you know?
I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So, no, it's very tricky. It's
yeah.
very tricky. And I don't know about those studies, but what I find to be dangerous about it is that what you're seeing visually
Mm-hmm.
and the dopamine release of you masturbating to it
Yeah.
can kind of train you to believe that those two things should go together. And maybe those circumstances are not circumstances you want to find yourself in.
Right.
So that's actually what I would say is dangerous about it. I'm not a very big advocate of NoFap or no porn. I use porn as a placeholder. I'm not saying that it's not dangerous and I'm not saying that it's healthy.
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying that it's not something that I talk about a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that I'm definitely not one of those guys that are running around screaming NoFap.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the one thing that's dangerous, not dangerous about NoFap, but kind of nerdy about NoFap is that sometimes guys make the mistake of creating an identity around the last time they beat off, which is lame.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I have a friend that would say, don't ever beat off. Just be more hungry the next day to go find a real woman in the real world, you know?
Okay.
And that would be the advice I would give is if you find yourself doing that a lot, man, why don't you just try to put that down and see if you can get a real girl,
Yeah.
you know,
Makes sense.
before you mess that up for yourself.
Makes sense. So we talk a lot about like, you know, being high valued as a man and how to build your value and whatnot, but how do you find that high valued woman?
Okay, cool. It depends on what you want in your life, man. A lot of people, let's say you're religious. If I was a very religious man, I'd want a woman that believed in God.
Yeah.
You know, I'd want a woman that lined up with my values. It's not about high value. When I think about women, I don't think about high value. I think about, do we line up on what I'm looking for in a woman? You know, I want a woman that's going to be a bit more feminine, that wants to be in the female role, that accepts and wants a man that's going to be strong and take charge of a relationship. Now, secret, all women want this, really. Some women don't want to admit it as much, but most women want a strong man that can make decisions. He's assertive, he's decisive, he takes the lead in the relationship, the provider, the protector type role.
Yeah.
Some women, unfortunately, have been put in a position where there's not enough men like that out there, or they happen to not be able to land one. And so they have to lean into and kind of self-soothe themselves with believing or wanting to believe that they want to go their own independent route and be maybe a bad bitch. And I think that's a really sad thing because I think most women really would like to have a family, be married to a man that they look up to and admire and respect inside of a family unit.
Yeah.
And I think social media makes that very, very difficult. And it's really unfortunate that it's going on, particularly with the OnlyFans thing. So it's easier than ever to get sexual access as a man.
Yeah.
And all the really good men have a lot of options. So it makes
But
it
the
hard on
women
women.
have as well, right? The high valued, high status women.
Yes,
have
but
a
I
lot
would
of
I would
options.
argue that those women don't want to sleep around. Whereas a lot of times when a woman finds a man that she actually finds attractive and he checks all those boxes, all the other women see that man as well. And that man sometimes will want to exercise those options or choose not to commit, either because he doesn't want to tell the truth that he wants multiple women, or he just decides that the headache is not worth it.
Yeah.
And so it's very tricky for both sides, but I think it's just as hard for women than it is for men.
Yeah. I think I saw in a reel, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you meet Andrew here in Vegas?
I did.
How did that come about?
I was at a War Room event. I joined the War Room a few months previously, and I went to the event. In fact, I believe that was the last summit where Andrew and Tristan and I were all at the same one. And Sterling Cooper's there is where I met Sterling Cooper as well.
Huh. How did that impact your life that day?
You know, at the time, Tristan walked through this sliding glass door. I was standing around a fire. Me and Tristan are a foot taller than everybody.
Yeah.
So we're kind of talking for a few minutes, and I knew very quickly that me and Tristan would be friends for a very long time.
Yeah.
you know, and most of everything I've done online in some way or form or fashion has been attached to what we're doing together as a unit. And I love it, man. It's a family.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time and we strategize together. And what we're doing is more of a movement than it is anything else. You know, I was saying on a podcast the other day is that if you see a professional baseball player or an actor,
Yeah.
you might would walk up to them and tell them, hey, I saw you on the show. It's really cool. When people stop me, and I know when they stop them, they tell them that they're changing their life. And I don't think there's anything in the world I'd rather do than positively impact somebody's life.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a greater feeling,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. 100%. Cool. How are they doing, by the way?
They're doing great, man.
Are they?
Yeah, bro. They're built for war, man.
Yeah.
You know, they move forward every day. They don't let it bother them, and you know they've had to make some adjustments.
Yeah.
But as you can see, the show goes on.
Yeah.
And they're moving forward. We're all moving forward,
Yeah.
doing what we have to do to stay on the mission.
Yeah.
You know, and that's life. A lot of times there's going to be things you think every business that ever opens, you think you're going to do this and you get rocked. And the next thing you know, one of the smallest features of your business is the thing that blows it up. You know, so you have to be able to be like water in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You have to be able to accept adversity and strategize around it to win anyway. You have to win in all climates.
Yeah.
And Andrew and Tristan are certainly equipped to do that in any climate.
Makes sense. So, you know, obviously I read a little bit about what's going on with their case and whatnot, but I mean, doesn't seem like they got charged at all with anything. They didn't get charged, right?
I think the last I heard is that it was something to do with TikTok.
Yeah.
Something to do with making money off of TikTok.
Yeah.
Which is complete bullshit.
Right.
And then of course there's this human trafficking thing in which they have no evidence for. And if they wanted evidence, they could just simply take the tapes from Andrew and Tristan's house. There's 20, 30 cameras. Every angle of that house is recorded. Why not just take the evidence that's right there? Take it. Look at it. Find it if it's there.
Yeah.
So we all know it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But it's something that they're going to have to go through. And I always say that no man does anything great without walking through fire. They're just walking through theirs, man.
Yeah.
You know, I have no doubt that they're innocent, and time will show it.
Yeah.
And they can continue to try to say that they were trafficking. But if they want proof, they'll just simply take the video from their house.
Yeah.
You know, they'll simply find it on their phone.
Yeah.
It's not there. There's been no trafficking. Andrew and Tristan don't need to traffic. Why would they do it? Why would they get rich and decide to go into that business? Why would that make sense? It wouldn't. And for that reason, I think they're just going to have to go through this process and then move forward from there.
Do you think Romania is safe?
I like Romania.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It is
Okay.
safe, man. Look, when you're in Romania, man, you can walk down the street. There's families out. There's kids. It's a beautiful place. It's wonderful. I love Romania.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Romania is safe. I think just like anywhere else, if you start dealing with the wrong people, you could find yourself in a pickle. But it's a very Christian country.
Yeah.
I think it's in the high 90% Christian.
Yeah.
You know? And I would imagine if you were to look at their crime rate in comparison to America, it's substantially safer.
When you met Andrew, did you know him as, because I think I remember at one point he was atheist, and then he
Muslim.
went straight from atheist to Muslim, or was it Christian first and then?
I'm not sure. I know that Tristan is Christian, and I know that they have donated quite a bit to the Christian church in Romania.
Right.
In fact, the last time I went to church, Andrew took me. We jumped in a car and drove through some back roads, and we went to this church way out in the country. And it was a Christian church. So I can't speak for the transitions of Andrew's faith.
Yes.
But I do know that there was a time where he was an atheist. And I've since spoke to him about it after him converting to Islam. And we've had some great conversations about it.
Yeah.
And
Can you speak on his character change maybe? Like, did he change by any chance before and after the conversion?
he's quit drinking.
He's quit drinking.
Yes. But in regards to Andrew himself, I think it's between him and Allah at this point. And I don't feel the need to dig in that too very much.
Yeah.
We've definitely had conversations about religion. I find him to be the same person right now. But just like anybody else, Andrew's going to keep evolving and growing. Mm-hmm. And And I'm sure that Islam has a lot to do with that in
Yeah.
many, many ways. I know he reads the Quran quite a bit every day, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think that you can do that type of inner work or create that kind of relationship with a God figure and not develop. So I suspect that he's developing a lot and changing a lot from those things. But
Yeah.
he's the same Andrew to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm just fine with that.
Makes sense. You're in your 30s, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So obviously business has changed over the past like 10, 20, 30
A
years.
lot. Yeah.
A lot,
A
right?
lot, man.
AI, right? The whole thing
Yeah.
with AI. By the way, like real quick question about AI. Like, have you researched into it, and like how are you like preparing for that AI wave coming, or because it's
Yeah, man,
already
I'll
there?
tell you exactly what we're doing. Our entire team is in the AI boot camp in the real world. So our guys are in there learning about AI every day from the real world professors. And we're making a lot of progress in that area. It's mostly my team working in there, but we're really excited about it. We think AI is going to change the game completely. And I don't think there's a better place to learn about AI than in the real world.
Yeah.
The professors are doing it every day in real time, 24 hours a day. And everybody that's doing it inside the campus is coming back to the group and talking about what they found, what worked, what didn't work,
Right.
how is it setting you up to make more money. AI is not going to replace a hardworking guy. It's just going to take a hardworking guy and allow him to 10x his production.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing in the real world for the students in there in the boot camp.
In the real world, there's like a bunch of high income skills that people
Yep.
get to learn, right? If you had to pick one of those high income skills out of all of them, like you were like the guy that just started out his career trying to build
Yeah.
himself as a man, you got into the real world. Which one would you choose and go with?
I would probably do an agency or AI.
Agency or AI?
Yeah.
Okay. Like a social media marketing agency?
Something of that nature.
Okay.
It may be driven by AI,
Yeah.
you know?
Gotcha.
There's guys in there killing it, man.
With social media marketing?
Bro, they're killing it. They're killing it with all of the different avenues. There's guys doing copywriting. There's guys they're flipping websites. There's guys doing crypto. There's guys doing stocks or day trade. There's so many things that you can learn in the real world. And what I like about it is, unlike school, the people that are teaching you how to do it are doing that thing that day, and they're making money doing it. They're successful at it. You can't get that at a college. The professor's not running a business, teaching you how to run his business.
Yeah.
It's unheard of, and it's $50 a month.
Yeah.
And on a scale that's actually large enough where you can really make money. You know, most of it is online. I think almost 100% of all of the campuses inside the real world are internet money.
Right.
I don't think there's a more powerful way you can make money than the internet now. Imagine being born in the 80s and you start a business and you're selling something local. When you sell on the internet,
Yeah.
you might as well be Walmart.
Yeah.
You can sell to everyone.
Sounds-
And so the real world is the best campus in the world, the best school in the world. I have zero doubt about that. It's crazy to me to see 14-year-old kids making six figures, you know.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Right.
You know, the thought of me making more money than my parents at that age was something that was not even in my consciousness. And now we see it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of what we're doing to get people in there, get them onboarded, get them to Luke and the professors, and then watching them grow and do incredible things at a young age. It's very powerful because the belief that they'll have in themselves moving forward after having this success at a young age is just going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Would you say you're a millionaire or a multimillionaire?
Oh, I'm definitely a multi-millionaire. bro.
Multimillionaire?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So what would you say are habits that you have that kind of help you keep those millions?
Yeah, so I have for myself perfected how to start and build a business that has systems that can create reoccurring money to me through either real estate or business systems or reoccurring models.
Yeah.
So I've been really good at understanding myself and knowing where I don't need to hire and where I do, based off of whatever strengths or weaknesses I have, or even what I have energy for. There's many times where I'll step outside of myself and look at it and say, okay, what do I not need to have Justin doing? That oftentimes will tell me where the next person I need to hire is. you know. And so if you can understand how to build a business and build a team and then
Yeah.
build systems that produce consistent results that you can count on,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot you can't do in regards to business or work.
What do you mean by systems, building systems? Because I've heard
Okay,
Andrew
cool.
Tate say that too.
Yeah, so business systems. So for example, let's say that every day I'm going to send an email out to drive people to the real world, right? We do it every day and we do it in a certain way. In my construction company, we have something called the project process. It's every mistake we've ever made doing a building, but it's a checklist of when we unload the trucks, when we hang the steel, when we sheet the walls, when we do the roof. We do it a certain way every time so we can get a consistent result. For any young man that's looking to learn more about systems and understand why they're so important, I would advise read the book E-Myth.
E-Myth.
Yeah, it goes deep into talking about how the founder of McDonald's created incredible systems. McDonald's isn't successful because it has the best tasting hamburgers. It's successful because you know what to expect. And systems create that. You could take a fry cook in New Orleans, Louisiana, and put him in Miami. He's going to open the fries and turn it his right and drop it.
Yeah.
That kitchen is set up the same way.
Yeah.
And so when you have systems, you can run plays, and those plays will give you consistent results that you can count on, measure, and adapt to grow even more. So I love engineering systems. I love organizational boards. I love roles and responsibilities. And I get a daily report from every business every day that's a statistical report based off every person in the organizational board that is numeric. So that takes away any politics or thinking I like one guy versus another when I can just look at the numbers.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What would you say is the highest leverage action that you're taking that maybe other people can take in their business?
Leveraging good people to make money.
Leveraging other people to make money.
Good people to make money. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
You can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't ever.
Yeah. And that goes with what you just said, talking about having like a checklist that they can do so that you don't have to do it, they can do it.
Well, every position in the organization, like, so when you start a business, you basically start off, you obviously would have a business plan, but you get to the point where you need an organizational board, right? And you understand what each position in the organization is supposed to do and how those cogs work together to make the business run, you know? So for every project that we bid, let's say, I want to make sure that we're recruiting every day to make sure that we have the employees that can fulfill those contracts.
You're recruiting every single day in your business.
Oh, dude, I recruit every day. I'm looking for new people every day.
What type of people are you looking for?
Well, it depends what the business is.
Okay.
So in construction, I'm looking for people that are competent, that know the work. We have very particular ways that we go about extracting that information. And then I want to know what kind of person they are. You know, so we have a 5-stage process to interview somebody. We do proven competence, where we do very loaded questions based off of the work they do. For metal buildings, it'd be metal building questions. If it's somebody online that's going to do some sort of editing or emailing, we'll ask them very loaded questions to see what their experience level is. And then there's a book called The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni.
Okay.
And he talks about the concept of humble, hungry, smart. And so we want people that are willing to learn how we do it at said business, that are willing to go the extra mile, work extra hours, do whatever it takes to win. You know, nobody's going to come on my team that they're not ruthlessly intentional, you know, about being on the team. And then smart, we want to make sure that they have the proper emotional intelligence to be on the team. That they're not a cancer to the team, that they're not negative, that they're not talking poorly about other people. We want the vibe and the energy in the company to be good, because energy is real, especially in a culture. And the last thing we check for is how lucky they are. I don't want people with bad luck. You can take that bad luck somewhere else, because a lot of times you choose your luck.
Yeah.
Most often, anytime anything happens that's bad luck, it's not bad luck. It's misuse of a frame with a situation and how you can spin it to be positive for you in your life. Even if the rest of the world looks at it negative, you have to find a way to flip it to a positive and make it a superpower for you. Because if not, you have to drag it around with you instead of allowing it to propel you to the next thing that you should do. And that's what really separates people, is their relationship with the negative events in their life. You can take those events and you can have them be a weight, or you can look at them as the thing that made you strong enough to separate yourself from the weak. And that's just a reality of life.
Makes sense. Obviously, we've got the Matrix in the background over here.
I see that, man.
Yeah. I want to ask you. I've been wanting to ask you this question, man. So,
All right.
if you had to accumulate all the years of you just grinding, hustling it out, just being the system, how would you, if you could do it all over again, how would you escape the Matrix as soon as possible?
Well, the first thing I would have to have done is not care what people think. If I could have done that, I would have probably done something online a lot faster. But I grew up in the South, and it was a place where very much be seen, not heard. And I was concerned at a young age that if I went and did, let's say if I started a YouTube channel, and it really wasn't a thing, but let's say I would have, that people would have been like, who the fuck are you? You know?
Yeah.
And you have to get over that. And everybody's going to have that one or two things that are kind of mental blocks for them. But I would have certainly done something that was more scalable, like on the internet. And I would have done something that was more of a residual model. So in construction, it's very much eat what you kill and then hunt again and hunt again and hunt again. Now to the point where I don't think I'll start a business where there's not a strong return on investment of energy. And what I mean by that is reoccurring things. Real estate being one of them. An insurance company would be a good one.
Yeah.
You know, what the real world does.
Podcast?
It depends.
Fresh and Fit, I mean, they're doing pretty good, right?
They're doing great.
Yeah.
They're doing great. But for me, I wouldn't do a podcast personally.
Okay. Crap.
No, you're doing fine, bro.
Okay.
I wouldn't personally do a podcast because you have to understand there's a situation where you're creating a job for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, this show doesn't go unless you show up.
Of course.
You know? So you're putting all this energy in to do this interview, right?
Yeah.
But after you get whatever money you get from the AdSense and YouTube, you're going to have to find another guest and then another one and then another one and then another one.
Yes.
And so that podcast model can oftentimes create a bit of a prison for a person.
Yeah.
What I would pay attention to is, do you have an energy for it? And from what you build up with this podcast, you can take that following and that trust that you've built with the people that watch you, and then give them something that will pay you every month in exchange for value that they're getting.
Okay.
So if I had to do again, I'd very much pay attention to the business model I was getting into, not look just at the money, because you really want to get a return on investment of energy.
Yeah. And obviously you did your research and you figured out that YouTube is probably your best bet because you started that 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. So YouTube is really good for me in so many ways. So obviously we do the real world, and that's something I do with Andrew. And then on top of that, one thing that I knew was going to happen is that if I went on YouTube, I would start to find really good talent. And so what's really important to me is that I have people coming to me with intention. Well, the first 12 years of my career, people would come work for me, but it was all about the money. And it was all about doing whatever they could to make more money and not necessarily put in the same amount of effort. You know, and that is very common in hiring people, especially in normal businesses.
Yeah.
But what I found because of YouTube is that people want to work for me because they align with me. They knew who I am. It's very rare where you meet your boss and you already know who he is and you genuinely like him as a person. And so YouTube's been very good for me in that way, because instead of getting mercenaries, I have people that already align with our core values. They already know that that I expect that they're going to work just as hard as Thomas and the rest of the guys on the team.
Yeah.
And so they don't even try to come work for us unless they're willing to put in that type of effort.
Yeah.
And that's what I think has been really one of the hidden benefits of me going on to YouTube, is that the people that have come to me and found me have allowed me to do incredible things in real estate, even in construction. We have some guys that work on the marketing team for Red Iron now, the construction company, and they do an incredible job. If I would have hired that person directly and they didn't know who I was, it wouldn't be the same relationship. A lot of the things that we're doing on YouTube to help people gets reciprocated in multiple different ways, but finding talent is definitely one of them.
Yeah. While we're on the topic on YouTube, I actually haven't posted ever on YouTube. I plan on posting our podcast, probably one of our first episodes on YouTube ever. Do you have like strategies that maybe you can kind of share with people that maybe have helped you kind of increase that audience and get that audience?
Well, I'll tell you, I believe collabing is one of the most powerful things that we've done.
Yeah.
You know, going on people's shows has been really big for us. And outside of that, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Thomas deals with all the YouTube.
Yeah.
He does, man. He does like everything. He studies it every night.
Yeah.
You know, he's all day. These guys work like 24 hours. I'm telling you, they literally work 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
I have 2 guys at my house in Louisiana right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you, if I could time warp into that house right now,
Yeah.
they would be sitting in front of a computer working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the culture, and we love it. A lot of people associate work with some sort of prison,
Yeah.
you know, and that's completely the wrong way to look at it. They look at it as a prison because they're paying attention to where they are instead of focusing on the person that they could become
Mm-hmm.
and the vision of where they want to go. And I think that people get that wrong quite a bit.
Makes sense.
I was just with a buddy of mine in LA, and I actually made a post talking about this. We were both the same age, same financial situation. And he told me, he said, yeah, when we were that age and we were doing, you know, trying to make our way through life, I was just trying to focus on how I could get out of this shithole and get out of my situation. And I said, it's really interesting that you look at it that way. I never looked at it that way. And he said, well, how did you look at it? And I said, all I was focusing on is the man that I could become. I was jumping out of bed every morning because I was so excited about the opportunity of what I thought was possible that I never paid attention to the fact that I was in a cage. I never paid attention to that at all because all I could focus on is where I could fly to. And for that reason, the door opened for me and I took off. And that goes back to mindset. It's like, it's really about your relationship with your situation and about what's possible more than it is focusing on the things that are stopping you or weighing you down.
Yeah.
You know, it's really about changing those relationships with said situations in your mind.
Would you say you keep your circle small?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1000%.
How small?
I feel like if you have any more than a handful of friends, you might not have any.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think some people identify friendship and trust to way too many people. And it's been my experience that if you really, really pay attention, that most people just want to get something from you. And that doesn't mean you can't be kind to them or possibly spend time with them, etc. But very, very, very few people will be with you at your darkest hour.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because if you can recognize that, then you know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you know where you actually have relationships that are going to be around for a long time, especially impactful times.
Yeah.
So that truth is really important because it'll navigate you in the right direction. Because the last thing you'd want to do is go to somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart in one of your darkest times.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay.
Makes sense. I want to read a quote real quick by your dear friend Andrew. I want you to tell me your thoughts on it. So he talks a lot about being a disciplined individual, and he says specifically that you have to train yourself to work essentially the entire day. He always emphasizes work, right? But obviously we've got distractions with social media, right? Some people maybe they don't even know what to work on, right? Would you say that the best place for people to really get past these hurdles is the real world?
I think if they don't have a vision and a path lined up, that the real world is a damn good place to go.
Okay.
1000%. Sometimes one of the best things you can do is throw yourself into a structure, especially if you have too much free time or you don't have a path already set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times in my life, even this year, where I thought to myself, okay, I want to get this certain thing done.
Yeah.
Right. But I have a lot of free time, have a lot of open schedule, and I'm pretty much free to do whatever I want. So I would force myself into an atmosphere where I could not even get out of it.
Like a closet. By the way, I live in a closet, so I was thinking about a closet
you?
first. Yeah. It's a big house. It's like an 800K house, but I'm saving rent by paying to live in a closet. So
That boy, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what you're gonna really enjoy about that later?
What?
You'll always have that story.
Yeah. You know, I haven't recorded it yet, but I think I'm gonna set up a camera, just kind of
You
show
should.
Yeah.
You should show that journey.
Yeah.
1,000%. You know, one thing I think that Sneako got really right is I think people love him so much because he's been very open about his journey in his life, and they feel like they genuinely know him as a person. And it's a pretty brave thing to have that open vulnerability with people like that. And I think he really nailed that in that way. And you'd probably do quite well if you showed that journey.
Yeah.
There's a time, I was a freshman in college, and I didn't have a lot of money. And I ended up, there was this guy, he had this bed, it was like way high off the ground. And I would stay like 3 or 4 nights a week under his bed when I was playing college football. We just had I had like a kind of like a pallet set up under there. And we still, to this day, I ate dinner with that guy the other day. I was in Monroe, Louisiana, because we're buying some properties up there. And we were laughing about it, you know, because he's like, "Oh, Mr. Lambo, well, you used to sleep under my bed." I'm like, yeah, well, bunk beds, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really the floor.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's life.
Yeah. Okay. The guys, they get into the real world. They become wealthy. They escape the matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the first supercar you recommend them to buy?
Well, first of all, I don't recommend that you just buy a supercar.
Oh, okay. Not the best financial advice.
Yeah, I would advise you to buy a property or maybe, you know, put the money in the market.
Yeah.
And make sure you do the responsible thing in starting by understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. So cars are liabilities. I enjoy mine. If I had to give you a vote, and I can tell you this is also Andrew's vote because we talked about this, I would get a Lamborghini because the McLarens can get away from you.
Yeah.
And the Ferraris, they're cool, but I think they could, you know, also kind of get away from you. But Lamborghinis are like being on tracks. It's really hard to fuck up driving the Lambo. And also, the reason I don't buy AP watches and the reason I don't want a McLaren over a Lambo is because girls don't know. Girl knows what a fucking Lambo is.
Yeah.
She knows what a Rolex is.
Yeah.
She might not know what the McLaren is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She might not know what an AP is. So, you know, when you're driving a car that costs more than a house, let's not bullshit that it's also a status thing. And I'll tell you, I was pleasantly surprised and do understand why guys like cars so much now. I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
I'm a truck guy. But putting the top down in that Lamborghini and driving really fast, that shit is fucking fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I cannot bullshit you there.
Yeah.
But there's also the status thing that comes with it.
Yeah.
And so I think Lamborghini, from a safety perspective, a fun perspective, and the signaling that creates and the fact that people know that brand makes a Lamborghini the car I would personally choose for my first car.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of signals, what are some signals besides the Lambo that you think a man can incorporate in their life to kind of increase their frequency?
Fitness, man.
Fitness
is huge.
Yeah.
And then there's style. And then there is networking to have relationships so you can be influential. I think that's very important. Being competent in a subject and being good at what you do is really, really important. You know, I'm assuming that you're talking in regards to women. So yeah, just buttoning up all those areas of your life. I really, truly believe that in life, you kind of have buckets. So there's a money bucket, there's a fitness bucket, style, you know, how well spoken you are. Can you have a conversation? What are your people skills like? All these different things. You could be in incredible shape and be broke. The fitness bucket has filled up. You know, that girl doesn't care if you have a little less body fat. You know, you could be a very, very rich guy and be a slob.
Yeah.
You know, you could be a very rich and fit guy and just be a simp and not understand female nature.
Right.
These buckets fill up. A girl is not good. I could be sitting next to a guy worth $100 million, right? The guy's worth more money than me, but the girl can't tell the difference in the lifestyle really. But she can tell that my style's there. She can tell that I'm in shape. She can tell that I checked all these other boxes. Maybe that guy's only got that $100 million. So it's, you know, for men, one of the biggest dangers I think that you could run into is become super wealthy and let that be the only bucket you filled up.
Yeah.
Because you'll get taken, you know, and you'll quickly find that that money is not as valuable without the rest of the things. Like for me, I wouldn't want to drive a Lamborghini if I was 65. Not my first one. It's way better being in my mid 30s. It's way more impressive. It's way more of a, like, that guy's got his shit together. Some fat old rich guy driving a Lambo, it's not the same, bro.
Yeah.
You know? So you got to get it in order, and you got to get it in order fast. But starting with fitness is the most important. And starting at an early age is really important. And don't let anybody tell you you're too young to do great things. You know, if you're old enough to understand what's going on, you're old enough to take action.
Makes sense. Your Instagram is JWaller7, right?
It's Justin Win Waller 7.
Justin Win Waller 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And your Twitter?
Waller 7J.
Okay, cool. And where can they find you on YouTube?
JWaller.
Okay, cool. Justin, do you have any final thoughts for people out there? Any final comments?
There's nothing a young man cannot do, regardless of his age, his religion, his race. If you're old enough to hear a message, you're old enough to take action on it, and you're old enough to act like a grown man. And if you can take it seriously and understand that everything that happens in your life is in your own hands and accept it, then there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Man.
Thank you
Cool.
for coming on.
Great
man.
talking.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.